Here we go.
Gun ahead. You just surrendered the lead.
Just 5 kills remaining. You've got 10 kills remaining.
A nearby agent has gone rogue.
Wish I could take a fucking break.
Rogue agent down.
You got 10 kills left. 5 kills left.
You're kicking rogue ass. Surrendered the lead. They're up with 2 to go.
You're the winner.
Warning. Now entering a contaminated area.
Hey, what is up, everyone? The LDB is back at it again, coming at you today with my Deadeye build for 1.8.3, and I am super excited to show you this build today for a couple of reasons. One, this is a build that hits like an absolute truck. I mean, it's crazy how much damage this build does, and it's really kind of refreshing since I'm more of an SMG guy. I haven't played with the marksman rifles for a little while now, so keep that in mind when you're watching the gameplay. You might be able to do a little bit better than me, but also because this build definitely has 1 or 2 shot capabilities. I mean, unless you're popping a Nomad, then obviously it's not a 1 or 2 shot kill, but other than that, 90% of the time you're going down within 2 shots, and sometimes within 1, especially nowadays that everybody is running these high DPS builds with low stamina. I mean, this is a walk in the park. I mean, it sucks when they get up close to you, but that's if they can get up close to you, you know what I mean? So either way, I'm really refreshed, like I said, with the marksmans, and I'm looking forward to doing the Hunter's Faith video, so keep your eye out for that. And as always, if you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, smash that like button, subscribe for future content, and drop a comment down there. Let me know how you're running Deadeye in 1.8.3, and if you're getting numbers like I'm getting. So let's get into the build. Okay, so really quick before we go into all the good stuff, I want to show you guys something that I think will definitely help you out. Go into your settings, go to your controls, and then go to your aim sensitivity and turn it up. Make sure your scope sensitivity, I put it up to 100%, and the aim sensitivity is at 90. I usually run it at about 80 or 75, so that extra bit that I'm putting on there, while scoped in, you'll be able to kind of pan around, look around a little bit easier. Sometimes you can lead players a little bit and hit people on the move.
Okay, we've moved into the lead.
You have 10 kills remaining.
That'll definitely help you out a lot, I promise. Give it a try. Just don't forget to put it back when you swap back to, say, your Nomad build or something like that. It'll really throw you off. But other than that, turn your vibration off. If you haven't done it already, I know a lot of people do it now and try it. You will be surprised how many more shots you'll be landing when your controller is not rumbling in your hand. So those are a couple quick tips right there, especially for a marksman rifle, that will definitely help you out. So now let's get on to the good stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at these skills and talents, because I feel like they are extremely important for Deadeye, more so than the majority of builds by a long shot. With a lot of builds, you have a lot more wiggle room on what you can use before it actually starts to affect your gameplay. With Deadeye, I think it's pretty straightforward on what you should be using. Now again, this is just my opinion. This is what I've been using and what has been working good for me. If you have any idea on how to make the damage go up any higher, by all means, throw it down there in the comments. I'd love to hear your feedback. But what I've been using is the Tactical Scanner Pulse, because it has the highest crit hit damage % up out of all the pulses. remember, with Deadeye, we're not worried about crit hit chance in the least. Do not spec for it at all on anything. On the gear pieces, the mods if you can help it, nothing. Leave it alone. Focus on crit hit damage, which is why I chose the tactical scanner pulse here. 17.3% crit hit damage with the 44-second cooldown. Now, I do have some skill haste on this build, which is obviously reflected in the cooldown there, but the crit hit damage, 17.3%, is what I'm focusing on, compared to, per se, the Scrambler. I know a lot of people run this because it keeps you concealed, but I'm mainly a skirmish guy, and in skirmish, you can only hide so much. You know, on the smaller maps, once you tag somebody a couple times or you drop one of their buddies and they see it, they know there's a Deadeye out there and they're going to be coming for you. It is what it is, which is why I would just rather have higher crit hit damage. Now, 2.3% difference, 15 to 17.3. You might think that's not a big deal, but really it does come out to be a decent chunk. When you take a marksman rifle that has a base damage of 170, 180,000 per bullet, and you multiply it by 170 plus crit hit damage percent, every little percent over that is really going to, push it a lot farther. So take that into account when you're using Deadeye. I go with the straight crit damage as high as possible, and it hasn't let me down yet. Now, if you're not going to go with any kind of skill haste, I recommend the Recon Pack Pulse. Well, hell, even if you are going with skill haste, because look at the cooldown time, 30 seconds. That's awesome. And even if I didn't have any, it would only be 40. My point being, though, with this is that it has higher crit hit damage, again, than the Scrambler. You got 15% on the Scrambler, and you got 16.1 on the Recon Pack. With the lower cooldown significantly, I mean, you can't go wrong with it. I know it's a lot about a pulse, but it really is a big deal, and it really will affect your gameplay a lot. So moving on, the booster shot, pretty straightforward. I'm not worried about this thing healing me at all. I'm not worried about the damage resistance. I'm worried about the temporary increase of damage. That's all I'm using this for. If someone runs up on me, 8 out of 10 times, I'm going down, whether I pop this or not, right? So it doesn't matter. I'm just using this for the temporary increase of damage. And as far as the signatures go, I'm using a tack link. I was using a recovery link in the Dark Zone, but honestly, some NPCs can pop this for you. And then it's on cooldown, and you're waiting for a while, which is why I would rather tactically use the tack link, strategically, and that way you get that damage buff up, the weapon RPM buff up. This will one-shot somebody. I mean, 99% of the time, you pop this, and they're going down. And, per se, you got your pulse out there as well. It's game over. It's game over, guys. So, let's take a look at the talents here. Don't forget those, because they are important, too. Critical save. Use a medkit during low health to increase damage resistance by 20% for 10 seconds. So, if you're getting lit up, someone's pushing up on you, you pop your medkit, and you get a little bit of resistance. It's not going to save you all the time, but every little bit counts, right? Anything you can do. Now, tactical advance, this is a huge one for this build. If you're not running this, run it. Try it. I mean, you won't be disappointed. Complete a cover-to-cover move to increase weapon damage by 2% per meter covered for 5 seconds, up to a maximum of 30%. 30% damage up. It only lasts for 5 seconds. That sucks. But if you can make a cover-to-cover move, I hit my pulse in the middle of the cover-to-cover move. You pop up, this goes into effect, and if you hit somebody, they are going to fall down. Don't leave home without this, guys. I'm telling you, this is an awesome talent for this build. Now, Steady Hands is probably somewhat just as important. Enter any cover to reduce recoil by 25% for 10 seconds. Now, you can get out of cover, go right back into it, after a second, and this will proc again. My point being, having that reduced recoil help you keep on target and land that second shot if need be, and put the person down. Now, I have one is none on headshot hostile to have 50% chance of not consuming the bullet. Only reason I'm really using this is because if it is a headshot, there's a 50% chance I'm not going to consume that bullet, and thus helping with my ammo consumption. Since we don't have more than, usually a couple hundred rounds, this is a good thing to have on. So, with that out of the way, let's actually get into the build itself and go over all that good stuff. Alright everyone, so here we go. As you can see, we have a 5-piece Deadeye here with a Reckless chest piece, and my primary weapon is going to be a M700 Carbon. Make sure it is the Carbon, not the Tactical or anything like that, because if it is, you will be losing a mod slot. Losing a mod slot means you're losing a lot of crit hit damage, so definitely use the Carbon. You can also use the M44 Custom, because that also has the mod slots all available for you, and a Surplus SVD. I really wish I could get a Surplus SVD that has the same exact talents that I have on this M700, because it is semi-automatic. You might not be hitting as hard per bullet, but you'll be able to be shooting a lot more faster and be able to, you know, hopefully land more shots and take them out that way. But I've honestly crafted hundreds of them. I've opened so many caches and they won't give it to me, so I'm sticking with the M700, and it hasn't let me down so far. Firearms is over 10,000, stamina's at 2,900, electronics 2,800. So my electronics is almost higher than my stamina. So put that into context for, you know, a glass cannon build. But either way, let's take a look at the weapons here. That M700 Carbon, the base damage, 185,000 per bullet. That's pretty good, I'd say. We got Deadly Prepared going on here, crit damage up 15%, and then we got Prepared damage is increased 15% when more than 30 meters from the target. So damage on top of damage, and then we have Competent down here. I know a lot of people leave Elevated on here, which is what comes standard with the weapon, but Elevated gives you that 12% increased damage when you are 1.2 meters higher than the target. Now, if you're someone that's always sitting up on a perch, that might be your thing, but what I've found is that I use my skills a lot more than I am 1.2 meters higher than my opponent. And that will definitely help out big time. I know it is a little hard to get a weapon that has this roll on it. It is what it is. If you can get it and roll Competent, it's 100% worth it. When I pop my pulse, or pop my pulse and my booster shot at the same time with Competent on top, I mean, with Prepared, you get the picture. We're melting everything. The magazine here, we have mag size, reload speed, and crit damage. We have the optics with crit damage, stability, accuracy. We have the muzzle with crit damage, headshot damage, and optimal range. That headshot damage is worthless. I wish I could have got some more stability, but beggars can't be choosers. The underbarrel, we have crit damage, reload speed, and accuracy. So my point being here, something just to point out, is no crit chance on anything. It can be done. It's kind of tough, but all I'm focusing on is getting that 19% crit hit damage on every piece that I possibly can. That's what I'm focusing on. So my secondary, the house, nothing crazy here. Deadly responsive combo in case they get up close. That responsive kicks in. Might be able to put them down. You might be able to get away. Probably not, but at least it gives you a fighting chance, right? So moving on to the gear pieces. First, I want you to notice that one piece is actually maxed out. The rest of them have not been maxed out. All of the stats on the pieces are maxed out, but the armor is not. And I did that for a couple reasons. I mainly go into skirmish mode, which buffs your armor anyways. Second reason is I don't think, even if you were to dump all that extra div tech into maximizing your armor, that it's going to make that big of a difference with the stamina being at 2,900. So think about that when you're going to be optimizing pieces. Are you going to go into armor or not? Because honestly, I think it's a big waste to get your stats up to as high as they can and then forget about your armor. Don't waste the div tech. So let's get on to the chest piece here. It is Reckless. It is rolled for firearms, increase damage by 8% and increase incoming damage by 10%. That second part kind of sucks, but that first part of increased damage by 8%, that's where it's at. Any kind of damage up you can get is a good thing. We got health, exotic damage resilience, and ammo capacity on there. I have 2 firearms with skill haste mods on there. The mask we have rolled for firearms with enemy armor damage, burn resistance, and it has a firearms with skill haste mod on there. We have the knee pads rolled for firearms with crit damage, disrupt, burn, and shock resistance. And we have a firearms with skill haste mod with a 2% pulse crit hit damage mod. Make sure it's a damage mod, not a 2% pulse crit hit chance mod. That is awesome. Using 4 of these, we're going to be able to get 2, 4, 6, 8% more crit hit damage just by having a couple mods on. That ain't too bad. So again, moving on to the holster here, I just basically maxed out the firearms. We got some skill haste on there, and we have a 2% pulse crit hit damage mod on there. The gloves, we're doing pretty good. Got rolled for firearms with marksman rifle damage, crit hit damage, and enemy armor damage. And then we have the backpack with firearms, crit hit damage, and ammo capacity, and it has a firearms with skill haste mod with 2 pulse crit hit damage mods on there as well. So we're really taking advantage of that pulse as much as possible. That's why I talked about it so much earlier, that combining them with these, you're going to be doing awesome. You're going to be melting everything. So that's about it, guys. Let's take a look at the character sheet just for fun. Again, weapon damage 84.8, so about 185,000. That crit hit chance 0, big fat goose egg. But the crit damage 176%, not too bad. Headshot damage 177%, that goes out the window. That's kind of sad, but it is what it is. A little bit of accuracy, a little bit of stability. My range is 62 meters. That's awesome. I can reach out and touch it from a distance. We got a little bit of reload speed on there. We got the all weapons damage bonus of 8% up because of the reckless chest piece. And then we have the 12% marksman rifle damage bonus from the gloves. Let's see here. We have 16% enemy armor damage. So again, any way you can kind of punch through that armor mitigation on their build, on your opponent's build, is a good thing. Just, it is what it is. Skill haste is at 22%. So not too bad. I could have got it a little bit higher, but I felt pretty comfortable at 22%, and it is what it is. To each their own. If you want to boost that up a little bit more power to you. Now, again, max health and toughness, look at these numbers. Terrible. I mean, even the armor isn't maxed out or anything like that, but it is what it is. We have exotic damage resilience, 11%. We have a whole bunch of burn and disrupt and shock resistance. We don't have any bleed, but again, you know, 1 or 2 pred bleed ticks. If it's a decent build, 1 tick, you're dead. Doesn't matter if you have resistance or not. So that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this build. I hope you found something, you know, took something away from it. If you did, you've enjoyed it or found it helpful, smash that like button, subscribe for future content. That really does help out the channel a lot. And drop a comment down there. Let me know how you're running Deadeye in 1.8.3, and you know how we can do any more damage if it is possible. So until next time, guys, I hope you take it easy. I will see you then. Later.